Hi there, this is Dr. Anna Maria Helt, herbalist and microbiologist here with Basmati.com. My sidekick Milo crashed out on the couch behind me. Our herb of the week this week is Oregon Grape, and Oregon, like the state. My friends make fun of how I pronounce it. From the East Coast, it's how I say it. Anyway, this is a native plant in North America, and I'm going to come back to sustainability before I wrap up the video, but I want to talk a little bit about the plant first. And so Oregon grape was, in a lot of herb books, will be referred to as a Mahonia species, Mahonia, but more and more people are regarding it as a Berberis species. And these two genera were initially separated based on leaf structure, but what's known is that plants that were in the Mahonia and the Berberis genus could hybridize, meaning that they are closely related. And so a lot of people are now considering Oregon grape to be in the Berberis genus. Anyway, here in southwest Colorado where I live, we have Berberis repens or Mahonia repens, and repens means creeping, and so this is a low to the ground, very, very common plant here, especially in our pinon and juniper and ponderosa pine forests. And there are other species elsewhere, Berberis aquifolium, which you'll see more in the Pacific Northwest, and others. And Berberis aquifolium actually is a fairly commonly grown ornamental plant. And it can get quite large, in fact, much larger than our creeping Berberis that we have here in Colorado. And so Oregon grape is famous for containing the alkaloid berberine. And people are going crazy about berberine right now and using it as a purified chemical, as medicine. I'm not sure how great of an idea that is. I like it in the context of a plant. As an herbalist, we generally feel like the whole of the plant is far greater than the sum of its parts. But anyway, berberine and other alkaloids that are perhaps less well known have effects such as antibacterial effects topically, not systemically. So berberine needs to kind of come in contact with the infection, whether it's something on the skin or something in the GI tract. That's how it's going to work more locally as an antibiotic. And it's a good one to keep in mind with the rise of antibiotic drug resistance, because one of the things we know about berberine alkaloids is that they may reverse drug resistance in bacteria. They may reduce the effect of what are known as efflux pumps in the bacteria that spit that antibiotic back out so that it doesn't impact the bacteria. So berberine and probably other alkaloids, I'm going to guess, in this plant and related plants prevent those efflux pumps from spitting out the antibiotics. So there can actually be synergistic effects in terms of using this herb together with antibiotics, but you want to get guidance on doing that because some antibiotics you actually don't want to be combining herbs with. But anyway, we know that berberine and other alkaloids from plants such as Berberis, Oregon grape, are active against pathogenic bacteria like E. coli and staph, including MRSA, methicillin-resistant Staph aureus, fungi like Aspergillus and Candida. But again, these are more local, not necessarily systemic effects. But let's not forget the other medicine in the plant, things like tannins and resins and polysaccharides and acids that all together contribute to the medicine of the plant. And in fact, Oregon grape has thousands of years of traditional use everywhere where it grows. It factors into Chinese medicine. I'll touch on that in a moment. It had uses all over North America and the parts of North America where it grew. So indigenous use as a general tonic, as a GI tract supporting herb, as a kidney supporting herb, for gum health, for fevers, especially when accompanied with diarrhea. So there's some kind of infection going on there. It was traditionally used as a blood cleanser, and it is in fact an alterative herb, an herb that helps with waste metabolism and elimination by various means. Oregon grape has also been used for rheumatism, so musculoskeletal pain type issues. A very common use for this plant is as a digestive bitter tonic. So it's going to stimulate better digestive function. It's going to stimulate liver function, which can be really helpful for skin issues and things like that. The digestive and the liver function can be helpful for constipation as well. And in fact, this plant seems to help strengthen the gut mucosa. Although it's not a plant, I wouldn't use any berberine plant really long term, just because there are some cautions, or there is some worry as to the long term effect that that may have on our own gut microbes, our own gut flora. And it's interesting, and it's something that I would like to delve more into at some point as a microbiologist, is why some plants seem to be okay with respect to gut microbes, even though they may kill off pathogenic species that we don't want, and why other plants may take some good, quote, good species out along with the bad. And something that I, again, just want to nerd out on a little bit more, and maybe we'll talk about in the future. Now, so this is a cooling medicine. In Chinese medicine, it would be indicated, for instance, if somebody maybe has a rapid pulse, so greater than 90 beats per minute, and is used for what's known as damp heat in traditional Chinese medicine. So these sorts of people might have a yellow-coated tongue, a thick yellow coat on their tongue, and their tongue will be red. So this can indicate certain types of infection, including in the digestive tract, and inflammation, toxin accumulation, and such. Also keep in mind that Oregon grape is a thyroid stimulant, and so that can be useful for some people with sluggish thyroid function, and should be fine with people that are euthyroid, but a plant to be avoided in people that have hyperthyroidism or overactive thyroid. Now, I want to touch on sustainability, because this is an important issue around this plant. United Plant Savers, which is a really great organization looking at medicinal plant sustainability, has Oregon grape listed on their to watch plants. This means these are plants that are not endangered, but they are at risk of becoming impacted by human activity. And so Oregon grape is under pressure in some regions. It's not an issue where I am. It's all over the place. It's very common in the San Juan Mountains of Colorado, for instance, but it doesn't mean that it's very common everywhere else too. And so there are some issues there. So getting it, if you can find it organically grown, could be a good way to go. If you could grow it yourself, that could be a good way to go, because it is a popular ornamental plant. You can find this at many garden shops, and it's not hard to grow. So the root is what's most famous as the medicine in terms of containing berberine and other alkaloids. But in fact, the stem bark, the inner bark of the stem, also has the plant's medicine. And the medicine is, in fact, yellow. You'll know the part of the plant will be good medicine when you see that yellow color here. And so what I'm showing you is an extract that I made from the whole plant. So when I harvest our Mahonia or our Berberis repens here in southwest Colorado, I don't harvest much because I use the whole plant. And so I'll use a little bit of the root, and I'll use the stems or the stem bark. If it's a bigger plant, I usually get the smaller plants and just chop the whole stem up. So what you're seeing is a nice yellow tincture from leaf and stem and some root. And the tincture works really well, and you can see it has that nice yellow color that is indicative of a good Oregon grape tincture. So you don't need to just focus on the root and dig the whole plant up. You can actually use other parts like the stem, especially if you are growing one of the larger species like Mahonia aquifolium that you can find in a garden shop. Grow a few of them and you can harvest the stems periodically. Now, so the inner stem bark will also work, and that might be a more sustainable way to use this medicine, like I said, especially if you're growing a bunch of this yourself. Make sure, though, if you are harvesting stems, that you're not denuding any one shrub, that you're taking maybe just one from each of a group, because if you start removing all the stems and the leaves, that's going to impact the soil under that plant and dry it out and such. And so be careful with that. You can read more about that on United Plant Savers website on their monograph about Oregon grape. Well, actually, it's not. Sorry. This is Herb Rally, which is another great herbal website. I didn't see a big monograph on United Plant Savers, but it may be there. Anyway, so I do harvest the whole plant here. I just get a couple of smaller plants, the roots, stems, and leaves. But if you have bigger plants around you, you can go for the stems. And in fact, there was a study of a Berberis species in Italy where they found the medicine in the leaves of the plant too, which is why I throw the leaves in, and it seems to work great. Now, another herbalist, Howie Bronstein, actually has been able to get a species of Berberis nervosa to reroot after harvesting the distal roots. And that's another great sustainable way to harvest this plant. But the best way to go is, if you're not into harvesting, find it organically grown or grow your own. Like I said, you can grow one of the bigger species and just harvest the stems periodically and use that inner bark as a tea or as a liquid extract. And so that's Oregon grape for you. And thanks for watching. Until next time, be well.